also understands that these are his disciples.
All right.
These are the men he has been teaching day in and day out. These are the guys who have had front row seats to every miracle he has performed.
That's right.
These are the men who just a few verses prior saw Jesus walk on water. These are the men who while on a ship in the midst of the storm, saw Jesus speak and witnessed that even the wind obeyed him.
That's right.
If anyone should be sure of who Jesus is, it ought to be the people who have spent the most time with him.
Go ahead now.
Our experience of Jesus in our own lives, time and time again, ought to serve as witness to the certainty of who he is. Jesus is not bashful about his identity, and like those desperately crying out in Jesus' time, he hears our pleas today, time and time again.
Yes.
Jesus asked this question to Peter the second time. But what about you? He asked. Who do you say I am? While the other disciples, the other students looked nervously at one another and stared down at their feet in this situation, Peter stepped forward and announced, "You are the Messiah." It was not the wrong answer. In fact, it was the right answer. For a brief moment, Peter must have basked in the glow of being Jesus' star pupil. Yet he was about to find out he had the best wrong answer. He had the right answer, but for the wrong reason. Jesus is the Christ, the Messiah, the chosen one, the Son of the living God. In the mind of the old fishermen, the other disciples, that meant revolution and conquest, and it meant victory. But to Peter and others, the Messiah is a warrior-like hero, like David, who drives out their hated enemies, conquering all of the neighboring countries. His kingdom will last forever. His kingdom will have no end. But when Jesus describes his true mission, it shatters Peter's dreams. For the first time, the master reveals his real game plan. All right. He then began to teach that the Son of Man must suffer many things and be rejected by the elders, chief priests, and teachers.
That's right.
Peter is startled at this response, and he grabs Jesus and pulls him to the side and says, Jesus, never, Lord. This should never happen. And Jesus, he says, never, Lord. This should never happen to you. He says, Jesus, this is bad publicity. You won't play. He says, your approval rating will plummet if you keep up all the negative talk about you dying. We all know the Messiah will live forever. Jesus responds to Peter by rebuking Peter, and which peers deep into his soul. With the same voice he used to cast out demons, the master tells Peter, "Get behind me, Satan. You do not have in mind the things of God, but rather the things of me."
All right.
Satan is speaking through you, Peter. You are a temptation, a trap, an obstacle in my path. That's not God's will. That's not God's will, but your will. Right answer, wrong reason. One moment, Peter is a blessing. The next, a barrier. The first, the voice of God speaks through him, and then the voice of Satan. What happened? This confusing twist made his head spin, and it proves to us that it's possible to have all the right information about Jesus and still be terribly wrong.
That's right.
I asked you this morning, who do you say that Jesus is? To the artist, he's the altogether lover. To the architect, he's the chief cornerstone.
That's right.
To the baker, he's the living bread. To the banker, he's the hidden treasure. To the biologist, he is the light. To the builder, he's the sure foundation. To the doctor, he's the great physician. To the educator, he's the great teacher. To the farmer, he's the Lord of the harvest. To the florist, he's the rose of Sharon and lily of the valley. To the geologist, he's the rock of ages. To the jurist, he's the righteous judge and judge of all men. To the jeweler, he's the pearl of the great price. To the lawyer, he is the counselor, the lawgiver, the advocate. To the horticulturist, he's the true vine. To the newspaper man, he's the good tidings of great joy. To the argument, he's the light of the world. To the philanthropist, he's the unspeakable gift. To the philosopher, he is the wisdom of God. co-worker of mine this week. Everybody's up in arms about this political season and about Supreme Court and everything else that's going on around us.
Oh, yeah.
And they're worried about whether we're going to lean to the left or lean to the right and how things are going to fall. And I looked at my co-worker this week and I said, she said, "You're not bothered by this?" I said, "No." I said, "The Constitution is not my conviction."
Amen.
I know what I believe. I'm an American for a little while.
Amen.
But I have eternity in a greater world. My conviction.
All right.
No matter what we're facing this morning, no matter what the situation is, we've all been through things before in our life, and we're going to continue to go through things. And there's one truth in that the same God that's gotten us through things before, He's the same God still here today that will get us through things today. We look at the situations in the world around us. The same God that was there when they marched in Selma. The same God that was there when the abolitionists came through the tunnels and the Underground Railroad and everything else they had to come through.
That's right.
The same God is here today. The same God that led them to the voters right now is the same God that's going to help us keep. The same God. The question today is, what is our answer? Who do we say God is when the storms rage in our lives? Who is He? Who do we believe that He is? This morning we're going to open the doors of the church. If there's one that feels led this morning, whether to give your heart to Christ and come into the fellowship of faith, or whether you feel you want to be not visiting this morning, you feel led to make this your home, that opportunity stands as well. Or maybe you just feel like you